were, it seems, the happy time. Paris, or Paris, no matter how you pronounce it, the magic is the same. Music and musicians, as it was in those carefree days, Paris had one song which, above all others, was unmistakably Parisian. This was the cry of the vendors at the marketplace. At daybreak, a kitchen garden opens on narrow, cobbled streets, freighted with history. Out of the early morning mists, some questionable characters emerge. If they are thieves, the gendarmes will be in hot pursuit, fully mechanized naturally. In the neatest trick of the week, the law is forced to take its course on foot. They gone, these culprits? Are they lost in the shadows of the old streets or hiding along the quays? The city is waking up. Life stirs first on the Seine. The little boats are giving way to the larger ones, which will chug up the river as far as Suresnes. Not far away, that soaring structure, the Eiffel Tower, emerges with the day. Its detractors call it ugly, baroque, vulgar, a product of mercantile imagination. Monsieur Eiffel, builder of the tower, is not made happy by these attacks. The people, however, are on his side. They take his tower to their hearts. It amuses them, pleases them. They stand in long queues to go up in its elevators. Comforted by this, Monsieur Eiffel can smile. Monsieur Loubet, the President of France, is as aware as a politician must be of what people think. Accordingly, during the exposition, he holds official banquets in the Tower restaurant. The altitude doesn't seem to affect the appetite of the guests. The exposition attracts 51 million visitors, and 51 million visitors can't be wrong. They admire the buildings, but show special interest in Monsieur Eiffel's tower. The Third Republic, finally convinced, claims it as one of its glories. The new president is Monsieur Fallières, the embodiment of those prosperous, unfrowning years. Santa Claus could not be more cheerful. He has become the symbol of a France contented, sentimental, and perhaps a little smug. His amiability is indestructible. He welcomes, he presides, yet he is sometimes disturbed. Even at a hunt, he can whisper, "My little business in the provinces, it isn't doing too well." He returns home, then reassured because he's nothing if not an optimist, he's off again on another tour. In Tunisia, he is received, saluted, entertained. Still smiling, he is taken for something of a ride. In short, le président est bien content. Monsieur Lépine, prefect of police, is also happy, at least for a policeman. In Paris, he is opening a station for another railway, full-sized in this case. In America, it is known as the subway. In London, as the underground. In Paris, as the metro. Monsieur Lépine, with his guests, sets out on an inspection of this new kind of underworld. The new subterranean realm has launched a new style of architecture. The modern, or metro style, as it is called by those who regret it. Its inspiration is industry itself. Industry with its open use of steel and iron, its frank functionalism, with something, as one critic put it, of the disorder of nature thrown in. Tastes in interiors, no less than exteriors, are changing. Monsieur Majorel's innovational furniture was a sensation at the exposition. He is certain that the search for novelty need not conflict with good taste. An allegorical nude is shown, a product of the new Bronze Age. Though undeniably traditional in her contours, she symbolizes modernism. The salon leads us to manners, indeed to etiquette. Do you know how to sit down, asks Baroness de Staff, author of Advice to the Worldly. Do you know how to walk in a hobble skirt and to conserve those graceful movements which are music to men's eyes? It is up to date to offer the left hand to a female acquaintance who offers you her right. This, of course, is something ladies should never do in the presence of a gentleman. If we are among intimate friends, we can let ourselves go a little without going so far as to cross our legs in public. The same subtleties and judgment prevail in all facets of feminine existence. They dominate the sacred rites of selecting hats and hairdos. Hair perfumed with the scent of violets or sandalwood, twisted into all shapes, these can only be achieved with the aid of experts. When you cover this elaborate handiwork with a hat and secure it with a hat pin, be careful not to injure the eyes that admire you. Any audacity is permitted, so long as you're certain it's in good taste. You could even improvise, slipping a spare handbag over your head, no matter that the bag is embroidered or edged with pearls. Another delicate subject is the choice of jewels. This also requires taste. Money, too. If, as a woman, you want to be in the height of fashion, you can drape yourself as Marcel Prince does in lamé, silver or gold or copper color. On the other hand, you may prefer, as does the equally famous Gabrielle Dorzia, light tules and the perfume of flowers. Or you may present, as the newest winter model, such a costume as this. These are gowns which only the great couturiers would dream of imposing upon the slaves of fashion. Sheaths of heavy black silk, cuirasses of velvet, coats of mail made of lace or jet. Cappiello has immortalized the faces of the great designers. Monsieur Doyer, Jacques Doucet, Jean Worth, Caroline Raboux. Monsieur Rouff is so well versed in the caprices of women. But a brand new and shocking type of female, the sportswoman, is emerging. obvious reasons and reasons she wants to be obvious, she refuses to be imprisoned by long skirts. The public unveiling, so to speak, of the first girl in trousers creates a scandal. But women everywhere are on the march. Since they are beginning to do the work of men, it seems normal enough to have them wear masculine apparel. London has women electricians. Paris, it's women cabbies. Women are demanding a new life, new rights, too. They want liberty and equality, if not fraternity. The suffrage movement is in full swing. Mrs. Pankhurst is their leader. Her hat may not be pretty, but it's a statement of principles. Others elect to gain their ends in more feminine ways. They prefer persuasion to mass beatings. They find a sedate garden party an excellent means of weakening the stronger sex. Liberation is the slogan of the day. Liberation not only from male dictatorship, but from the restraints of that even more painful tyrant, the corset. The corset, some insist, is a Bastille. But its fall brings other problems, such as how to keep skirts, petticoats, and stockings from falling, too. Women may not yet be entirely free, but at any rate they breathe more freely. Moreover, they can compare their figures partially or fully liberated from that instrument of torture which authorities now condemn in the name of health. A typical bromide of the period is our grandmothers didn't expose their calves on bicycles, but somehow or other they stayed healthy. Another common remark is one can't help wondering what's left for her husband. Modesty is becoming a lost art. Celebrated or unknown, the modern woman is eager to be photographed. Painted, too. Marcel Lander, for instance, the famous actress-dancer with the chalky cheeks, the white face, and the beautiful back. With her are Liane de Pougy and Caroline Otero, known as La Belle Otero. Otero is beautiful, disturbing, and disturbed. As likely to dance at noon in the garden of an admirer as she is after midnight for the diners at the Café de Paris. Cléo de Maraude is another publicized figure from the gay and lurid bohemia of Toulouse-Lautrec. At the exposition, she does an exotic dance from the Far East. Although the purists insist it's not quite authentic, they admit it's delightful and let it and her go at that. Eccentricities become commonplace. Paul Bourget describes such sirens saying, "She arches her back, avowedly to avoid me, but really she pretends to be enraged, while actually she is embracing me with her eyes." Here's a daring new French film. About what? Love, of course, and a lover to whom a wall is no obstacle. His note sets off the desired conflagration. The rendezvous finally takes place, but moralists need not worry. Everyone will suffer. Films, plays, and novels, the dueling scene is a stock in trade. But Monsieur Wheelie, whose successful vaudeville sketches refuses to take even love seriously. Willie is married to Colette, who is to become one of the most widely read French novelists. Interested in health, they take the country. Such exercise is not without its peril. Perhaps it would be better if there were a sign reading, "Keep off the grass." Follies, more follies, nor is the call of the wild always responsible. Science, true or false, must bear some of the blame. Professor Richet has made hypnotism fashionable as a means of curing psychic disturbances. This doctor is obviously one of the professor's disciples. Persuades his patient to describe the dreams which have been troubling her. She itches, and schizophrenic desire for revenge. At least it can be said of Professor Richet's follower that he doesn't drag out his cures. Having put her to sleep, he wakes her in a hurry. In a miraculously short time, he has solved her deep-rooted conflict. Professor Coué has a simpler cure. Even America knows he's every day in every way, I'm getting better and better. The French version is every day and every night, I'm getting better and better. Many husbands have their wives photographed while asleep. Another fad, women have themselves vaccinated in public. This is also a man's town. Safe from intruding females, they find one way of exercising without effort. Others discuss the latest books or sporting events. Tony de Castellan, husband of Anna Gould. Robert de Montesquieu, whose oddities Proust transcribed. Pierre Louis. Oscar Wilde, after his imprisonment, still perfumed and idolized. De Max, the venerated tragedian. Marcel Proust, novelist extraordinary. He is brilliantly at work recording the social scene around him. As the century advances, it becomes clear that the Paris of M. Proust is changing as well as the France of M. Fallières. The allure of the ladies who promenade in the Bois is no longer quite the same. Their gait is less languid. They not only want to see, they want to be seen. With the coming of May, everything turns white. White for linens, embroideries, starched blouses, knots of ribbon, and flowers. The season of carnivals, races, and athletic contests has arrived. With the white season come the red-blooded devotees of sport. The winner of this cross-country military race is Jean Bouin. Georges Carpentier is a hopeful novice of whom great things are expected. An important international conflict. Football. England against France. The modern sportsman, dynamic, intrepid. Riviere, a champion cyclist, invents a chainless bicycle. Automobilists try constantly to beat their own records. Racers dream of doing 45 miles an hour. Savin's dream of conquering the air. The Count Lavaux, a leading aeronaut about to make a balloon ascension, speaks a few words on the future of dirigibles. The Duchess d'Uzès is more down to earth in her sporting tastes, being a huntress both of foxes and celebrities. Gabriele D'Annunzio, the tempestuous Italian writer, owns racing dogs almost as sleek and impatient as he is.
La chasse, le vin et les belles, c'était le refrain de Bourbon. Il rencontrait peu de cruels et trouvait toujours le vin bon. Ses maîtresses étaient fidèles et ses chiens avaient du renom.
The Duchess leaves her estate for one of those fashionable weddings, which are the delight of the Faubourg Saint-Germain. The honeymoon starts from the Gare de Lyon. Perhaps headed for Nice and the Promenade des Anglais. But we're wandering too far from Paris. Now the social season is at its height. Not even the rain can dampen it. Members of the French Academy are holding a reception. They call themselves immortals. This is one way of tempting Providence. That same rain which dares to drop on an immortal doesn't spare Paris. In 1910, the Seine is in a menacing mood. The water level is rising daily. How much can be told by watching the statue of the Zouave on the Pont de l'Alma. Paris has never known such a flood. It is worse than a tornado, worse than a war. But wars are fortunately things of the past. The metro of Monsieur Lépine is endangered. What will become of Monsieur Eiffel's tower? Will it be a lighthouse? In the distance is the Place de la Bastille, stormed for the first time by boats. Rowboats replace taxis to reach the Gare Saint-Lazare. Paris begins to resemble Venice. Commuters in particular are fed up. It's no fun taking a raft from the suburbs to get to work in the city. Fortunately, the waters at last begin to subside. A horse is fished from the Seine. The city sighs with relief. The Zouave on the Alma is dry again. Monsieur Fallier's Paris can smile once more. Season is beginning and Paris prepares for a carnival. The prospect of this delights the midinettes in the Place Vendôme. Who will be Queen of Paris this year? A modiste? A flower girl? What's Cinderella from what section? The world of fashion shows its interest in these plans. Seeds are distributed so that midinettes can have flower boxes on their balconies. Escorted by a city councilman, the newly elected queen enters her carriage. She is Marie Poirier. Ordinarily, she presides over a stall in the market. Relaxes and enjoys itself. Le président est bien content. Amusement parks are jammed. Foreign exhibits attract vast crowds. The Dragon at Luna Park is confronted with all kinds of sights. Turkish, Chinese, and Japanese shows are all the rage. Fabulous American Buffalo Bill on a world tour delights Paris with his Wild West show. For Sunday strollers, a grand concert in the Jardin des Plantes. Some of the unmusical prefer to fathom the secrets of nature or examine the exotic plants, source of Monsieur Majorel's furniture designs. In the heat of the greenhouses, iris, fuchsias, and orchids are in full bloom. But the heat is not limited to the greenhouse. Summer has overtaken Paris. Parisians seek a whiff of fresh air on the towers of Notre Dame or along the banks of the Seine. Others, for 2 sous, take the little excursion boats. Even the heat, however, cannot lessen the zeal for celebrating the 14th of July. There is dancing in the streets. August 15th, Assumption Day. Paris is almost deserted. A kind Englishman who was in Paris during the Franco-Prussian War donated 100 of these fountains where horses can stop for a quick one. Humans try to find relief at sidewalk cafes. And early but familiar aspects of the Parisian scene are now reported going undercover. Anyone who can get away and crowd onto a train leaves Paris for a little vacation. Although Vichy can be hotter than Paris, its waters are health restoring. There is also the casino and the music pavilion. Only a man equipped like this one with a hazel wand can tell where the next spring will shoot up. Many families prefer the seashore and push their way onto trains to get there. The costumes for bathing are simple and comfortable, guaranteeing protection from the sun and curious eyes. A few modest souls don't take to the water, but are taken to it in these cabins on wheels in which they can change their clothes. What the well-dressed bather wears reduces the threat of sunburn, though adding to the problems of staying afloat. Who remain in town seek relaxation by patronizing the fashionable boîte. They get their exercise tangoing and listening to gypsy waltzes, which offer no escape from the heat. The airplane has inspired a new step called the aeronet. Spectators find it exhilarating, in spite of the fact that they themselves are grounded. They like its takeoff, its gliding, its swaying, its defiance of gravity. It's happy landing, too. The effects of a string ensemble on a lonely heart are clearly indicated. Fortunately, the chorus girls here are still going through such time-honored routines as the can-can and the cakewalk. These have been in vogue since the Second Empire. The amusements of Paris are of all kinds, physical or intellectual. Here, for example, a sister team at a music hall. Please note their agility and fragile charm. The program proclaims them a veritable vision of classic beauty. Herewith, the Tumbling Julians. This is strictly a family affair. They seem to be throwing quite a party. The music hall, by the way, is gradually replacing what was known as the Café Concert. This is Mayol singing with Audard. Here, look carefully, is Maurice Chevalier. Not yet singing Louise, but already the possessor of a lower lip that is beginning to protrude. Encouraged by the famous Mistinguett, Chevalier is doing an imitation of Mayol. Visits Ferdinand Zecker, actor, cameraman, director. Pathé, a rash pioneer, is even filming actual news events. The public still prefers the living theater. Madame Réjeanne, a great star, admired especially for her Madame Sans-Gêne. Sarah Bernhardt, the divine Sarah, with her golden voice and supreme skill, has conquered the civilized world. On her estate at Belle-Île, Bernhardt gives a recitation for some friends. One of her greatest parts was Camille. This is her reading of the death scene. Her admirers are confident no one can ever play the part again. Bernhardt's favorite modern playwright is Edmond Rostand, author of L'Aiglon and, of course, Cyrano de Bergerac. Georges Courteline is the most popular comic dramatist. But Molière still holds the affections of Paris, and Lucien Guitry, father of Sacha, is his most famous interpreter. A player of immense authority, he doesn't undervalue himself. The stage manager running to his dressing room cries, "Monsieur Guitry, everyone's on stage." "They'll wait," he replies. "They can't start without me." Gemier, disciple of Antoine and the Théâtre Libre, and one day to become director of the Odéon, hopes to win the widest possible theater public. He heads the traveling theater, the theater of the people, and tours the provinces, playing his classic roles in a tent. Shylock is one of his outstanding characterizations. Here is Cassive, who is scoring a hit in The Girl from Maxime. Regina Badet, more celebrated for her charm, her contours, and her smile than for her talent. Paulaire is ahead of her time. Her hair is short, her energy endless. How she keeps a waist that would fit into a wedding ring is a mystery. Colorful Cécile Sorel is destined to become a French institution. In the open air, we again encounter the tragedian, de Max, noted for his ability to read poetry. Mounet-Sully is more than an actor. His audiences at the Comédie are his subjects, and he rules over them like an old-fashioned king who could do no wrong. He is playing the final scene in Oedipus Rex. As is plain to hear and see, his is the grand style. Mounet-Sully's Hamlet is highly respected at the Comédie. Paul Mounet-Sans's latest work has opened. Nellie Melba creates a sensation. Her voice is more luscious than the dessert which takes her name. Caruso, well-fed, bursting with vitality, has every reason to smile. He is acclaimed everywhere. Gustave Charpentier's opera, Louise, has scored a triumph. Having written of Montmartre and misery, he is feted in the National Temple of Music. The opening of the Small French Artists is one of the season's major events. The hall, being official, is resolutely unoriginal. The president, as usual, is on hand to welcome, approve, and compliment. His own picture has been painted by Bonnat, an ardent enemy of the Impressionists. This portrait of George V, King of England, also confuses painting with photography. The younger artists protest. The reaction against academic art is violent, but the rebels gain strength. Sculptor Auguste Rodin, famous for his thinker and the kiss. He has not followed tradition, he has created one. From the heights of his home at Meudon, he looks down on the city which for so long ignored him. Auguste Renoir, one of the greatest impressionists and one of the most ardent and sensuous of modern painters, is now growing old. Although he so suffers from arthritis, he can scarcely hold his brush, he continues to paint with the suppleness and vigor which distinguish his work. Claude Monet Vernis with his nymphs. When the Impressionists held their first exhibition in 1876, they had scandalized the critics and the public. The Impressionists, they had said, see only what others do not see. But the Impressionists have triumphed. They have taught people to see differently. The painter, says Monet, is only an eye. But what an eye! A similar revolution has been taking place in music. Claude Debussy's Pélias and Mélisande has been jeered by audiences preferring Gounod and Massenet. Here is Perrier with Mary Gordon, so memorable as Mélisande. It doesn't matter that a few conservatives laugh so heartily. The true connoisseurs understand and applaud. They know history will repeat itself and that tomorrow Debussy's music will be acclaimed. Early in in the morning in the parks of Paris, you could sometimes see a lonely figure deeply considering man and his destiny. Like so many of the rising generation of musicians and painters, the newer writers and philosophers are ignored by the masses. No one turns to look at the celebrity of tomorrow. This, however, is André Gide, meditating at Butte Chaumont. Gide's answer to the diehards is, we are about to enter and conquer new fields. Walking in the Luxembourg Gardens, Gide meets Paul Valéry, a poet as yet little known. Guillaume Apollinaire poses for animated photographs. The only moving pictures taken of this was leading the art of his times in new directions. Picasso is painting his self-portraits. Henri Matisse is a colorist of astonishing virtuosity. The first Salon des Fauves creates a scandal. Protests of the traditionalists are loud and angry against the work of Matisse, Braque, Dufy, Derain, Utrillo. Indeed, all those who are banded together in the heart of Paris exploring the new field by Gide. Not far from Paris, at Juvisy, another experimentalist, Camille Flammarion, explores other new fields. He is popularizing the science of astronomy and developing public interest in the study of the universe. A sensational announcement is made. Paris will see an eclipse of the sun. The Place de l'Opéra is suffused with an eerie light. There are those who see in this phenomenon an omen that the end of the world is approaching. This eclipse will be forgotten. But aviation will really put an end to the world as it was. In 1912, this modern Icarus, a tailor by trade, designs an elaborate costume to sustain him in the air. At dawn, he goes to the first tier of the Eiffel Tower. A few spectators are on hand to watch him. He hesitates. Finally, he jumps. His body makes a hole almost 6 inches deep at the foot of the tower. They carry away the remains of this premature birdman. But others have been luckier in conquering the sky. In 1909, Blériot has successfully completed the first flight across the English Channel. His return to Paris is a triumph. President Fallières hails this miracle of the century. What an irresistible force for peace, says he. All the people of Europe are neighbors. All the countries of the world will be friends. The peace conference at The Hague promises an era of goodwill. War seems safely outlawed. The rulers and their statesmen set out on their travels. Here is Alfonso, the young king of Spain, with his retinue. In Berlin, King Edward VII meets his nephew, Kaiser Wilhelm II. Sovereigns of the Central Powers confer. Monsieur Fallières offers his arm to the most peace-loving queen in the world, Wilhelmina of Holland. Succumbing to the charms of Paris, foreign diplomats salute the Third Republic. On the job, as always, Monsieur Fallières salutes peace. Andrew Carnegie, the American philanthropist, seems convinced his efforts in behalf of peace are not in vain. World peace is assured. Le Président est bien content. In the 50s, they're neither so simple nor so friendly. Attacks the left the right. Socialist Jean Jaurès poses with arch-enemy Millevoye. Jaurès has defended Captain Dreyfus in his world-shaking trial. Delcassé and Aristide Briand. A promising young deputy, Marcel Cachin. The Dick, already immersed in politics, challenges his colleague, Pierre Weber. Seen from the back, Charles Maurras, ferocious editor of L'Action Française. His opponent, Paul de Cassagnac. Léon Daudet likes nothing better than a good fight. The weapons don't matter. But Arthur Meyer, who edits Le Gaulois, pretends all these differences of opinion are not as serious as they seem. Things, however, are not so rosy as he believes. Why these crowds? What are they protesting? The Paris councilmen are distressed. They visit the scene of the trouble. There is another side to these years which the sentimental and the comfortable are calling the happy time. These wounds are real. This is a Paris which tourists do not see. Animals, children, men and women live here as best they can. The councilmen are forced to realize that such a life is a living death. Their action? A site is selected. Somehow everything will come out all right. Meanwhile, there are lines at soup kitchens. Observers ask themselves how such poverty can be overcome. The hungry who wait in the streets aren't so certain the problem will be solved by charity bazaars or garden parties for the benefit of starving children. They aren't certain either that the poetry of Jean Aicard appealing for sacrifice will dissolve the misunderstanding between capital and labor. The red herring of the day is anarchy. Whenever demonstrations are held, they are denounced as foreign propaganda or a radical conspiracy. A non-commissioned army officer convicted of un-French activities is publicly broken. His humiliation is complete. Even watching it is painful. Paris remembers that many of her most ardent advocates of social change and progress have been recruited from the ruling classes. In the revolt against human misery, there's always a lunatic. In 1912 is excited over the pursuit of Bonneau, a thief and an assassin. On April 28th, the police track him to Choisy-le-Roi in the Nez Rouge. A cameraman just happens to be present. Our old friend Prefect of Police Lepine takes personal command of the siege. Several infantry battalions, the Republican Guard, and all available police, as well as members of rifle clubs for 10 miles around, have been mobilized. In the Nez Rouge are two men, Bonneau and his accomplice, Dubois. A wagon load of straw behind which a soldier is hiding is set off a charge of dynamite at one end of the garage. After 2 fruitless attempts, the question is, will the garage explode this time? The crowd, gathered at a distance, breaks through the police lines. Bonneau is fatally wounded. Dubois is killed. The curious ransack the Nez Rouge. The police search for incriminating evidence. They find a paper on which the dying Bonneau wrote in his own blood his last words. So much the worse for society. So much the worse for you. The 2 bodies are carried away amid the howls of the mob. The corpses are taken to the morgue, their accomplices rounded up, tried, convicted, and sentenced to Devil's Island.
Ils sont bien 20 dans la prison, le plus jeune des 30 disait une chanson. Les dames de la ville sont accourues au son. Ouvrez-moi donc la porte de la prison. La prison s'est ouverte, les prisonniers s'en vont. Ils s'en vont loin sur l'onde, jamais nous ne les reverrons.
But Parisians are still believers in those magical words, liberty, equality, fraternity. They can't understand why all this new progress is failing to eliminate depressions and mass poverty. Hard-working men and women who are neither anarchists nor communists complain they aren't adequately protected against industrial accidents, explosions, fire. Inevitably, they organize themselves into trade unions. As their forefathers did in 48 and 71, they hold mass demonstrations in the streets of Paris. Labor unions are finally recognized as instruments for protection and the maintenance of order. Union members move into vacant apartments with the help of their friends. They learn the wisdom of taking action and sometimes not taking action. A railway strike breaks out. Tracks are guarded by soldiers. A striker has been killed. His funeral occasions a demonstration which is given added importance by the presence of socialist leader Jaurès. In Russia, the aging Count Tolstoy is dreaming of the brotherhood of man which will guarantee peace. Others everywhere entertain the same hope. Pacifist demonstrations are constant occurrences. These people dream of happiness. They want no part of war. Other men speak a different and a terrifying language. Paul Déroulède exhorts his countrymen to think of coming battles. For 10 years in this dream, everything delays it, yet nothing interrupts it. God grant that one day a Frenchman will achieve it. As for me, I only sound the call to arms. But it is not through cowardly egotism that I withdraw my arm from the oar. 1,000 oarsmen stand ready for the task. As for me, I only sound the call to arms. Other writers express the same sentiments, but they are more serious and realistic. Maurice Barrès, standing before the Strasbourg reminder of French defeat in the Franco-Prussian War, appeals to the pride of the army. Officials and industrialists see eye to eye. Monsieur Michelin establishes a prize for the best military plane equipment. Where are the dreams of peace? An inventor, Monsieur Turpin, perfects melanite, a chemical with extremely satisfying and encouraging results. Small cannon is fired from the Eiffel Tower. Does it signal that the happy years are over? Monsieur Fadier is now in his 70s. He goes hunting at Rambouillet for the last time. At the same time, elsewhere, a less kindly man examines his gun sight. Kaiser Wilhelm also goes hunting, but he's after bigger game than Monsieur Fadier's few birds. Monsieur Fadier returns to Paris for the installation of his successor, the new president, Monsieur Poincaré. Adieu, Monsieur Fadier. Bonjour, Monsieur Poincaré. Still the symbol of a happy France, the ex-president is no longer content. I greatly fear, says he, that war will follow me in the Élysée. The times are changing. Even the weather is changing. Mr. Carnegie, back in Paris, no longer finds on the boulevards that gaiety and faith in the future which once encouraged him. He is anxious. His thoughts center on the war trends which are apparent everywhere. Riots, revolutions, minor battles, the first storm signals. In Portugal, the Balkans, Greece, Turkey. The new president has less time than his predecessor for social functions. He reviews the troops. Across the frontier, Wilhelm II poses before his favorite panorama. Official reviews attended by all the military attachés, future enemies or future allies, still resemble peaceful parades. But those in the know suspect their Tag is approaching. The fateful summer of 1914 has overtaken Paris and the world. President Poincaré accompanies the British sovereigns leaving the Élysée after a state visit. Self-bound for Russia with President of the Council Viviani. England, Russia, and France are now allies. While Poincaré reviews troops, the tension mounts throughout the world. New recruits arrive in France. Quickly, these raw colonials are put through intensive training. Beyond the Rhine, they are playing the same dangerous game. The Crown Prince parades with the famous Death Head Hussars. On June 28th, the assassination of the Austrian Archduke at Sarajevo sets off the spark everyone has dreaded. Austria declares war on Serbia. Official visits come to an abrupt end. The Austrians anxiously await the order to attack. Troops are reviewed for the last time before leaving for the front. In St. Petersburg, great crowds mass in the square before the Tsar's palace. These people, like the people everywhere, may hate war, but they have little to say in the final decision. The attention of the world is on the imperial palace. What will the Tsar do? Officials, ministers, ambassadors try to put a good face on things. They make a bad job of it. Izvolsky, the Russian ambassador, has his last meal with his family in the garden of their Paris residence. The world has only a few more moments of peace to enjoy. The sun sets for the last time on a peaceful Paris. It is the evening on which Jaurès, the socialist, will be assassinated. The morning of August 2nd, 1914, fate still seems to hesitate. And suddenly on the walls a notice. By decree of the President of the Republic, the mobilization of the armies of the land and sea is hereby ordered, as well as the requisition of animals, vehicles, and harness necessary to fit out these armies. Everywhere in Europe, at the same moment, men are on the march. The Belgians. The English. The Russians. The train which takes these Russians to the front receives a blessing. At the Gare de l'Est, the last kisses, the last efforts at laughter, the last goodbyes. Even as they say farewell to one another, they are also saying goodbye to those peaceful, those carefree years. Those happy times are over.